say definitively that religions are all bullshit.
Welcome to Brainstorm.
We have the explicit tag for a reason.
This is a base level argument to a higher level morality.
I get paid to science?
Two science as much as one can science.
What the hell was my point?
Trigger warning. The Brainstorm podcast will criticize your most cherished beliefs. We attack nonsense in all its forms and discuss difficult subjects. If you peddle pseudoscience, supernatural woo, or religious dogma, then this is not your safe place. This is the home of hardcore skepticism.
All right, and we're back. To those listening live or to our patrons, welcome back. For those listening weekly, welcome to the Shift to Reason Radio, the Brainstorm production that tries to educate and inform. We'll take current events and important skeptical topics and try to analyze them critically. Remember, we're live on Spreaker.com every second Friday, and today is November 10th, 2017. I'm joined by Leo
Hey there.
and Rene.
Hello.
With the always amazing Dave doing sound.
That's me.
That is you. We lost a person. The Angela had to go home because she was coughing too much and did not feel 100%. So we are down to 3. And we're going to talk about music. We're going to have kind of just an open chat rather than our normal segmented show. So I'll pass it over to you, Rene, because this was your idea.
Kind of. I started it because, at the beginning of October, I went and saw Miranda Lambert, and I'm not a big country fan, but it was a great show, and I love Miranda Lambert. It's a weird thing. I have an unhealthy obsession with Miranda Lambert, but it was because the concert happened 5 days after the big Vegas shooting.
Right.
There's a couple things that, as I'm enjoying the show, there's a couple things that struck me as kind of not ha-ha funny, but kind of funny, was that anywhere outside of country music, some of these things that would have popped up, people would be losing their mind over.
Right.
And one was the gun motif, was because here, the Vegas shooting just happened. She actually was quite upset by it. About half or 3/4 of the way through her show, she kind of broke down, which makes sense. I mean, she probably knew half the performers at Vegas,
right.
Same country fan base or whatever. But things was everywhere you looked, her logo was, a 6 shooters, with angel wings
right.
behind it. One of her mic stands was a shotgun, and she has a lot of songs that are very, gun motif,
right.
Gunpowder and Lead, or Time to Get a Gun. And, she has one song where it opens with, I put a bullet in the radio. It just struck me funny, I guess. And I'm just if it wasn't a country show, none of this would fly. There would be
right.
people would be losing their minds. Right after 1999 when Columbine happened, because somehow Marilyn Manson got associated with the kids that shot up the school.
Right.
There was protests, and his career got slowed because of it.
Took a hit.
It took a massive hit, and it was just something kind of struck me as very odd.
Right.
Because there was no comments, no whatever, and and then afterwards, because of this, I was thinking this. The other thing I got thinking, because I have a monotonous job at 6 o'clock in the morning, and so I was thinking about how many of all of these other weird things that are in country music, and sticking with Miranda Lambert thing, half of her songs are, if you cheat on her, she's going to set your fucking house on fire.
Right. Seems like an odd theme.
Yeah, it was just weird. And there's other examples of that too in country music, Carrie Underwood's Before He Cheats.
Right.
If you cheated on her, then she's going to beat the shit out of your truck. And even Miranda Lambert's opening act was Brandy Clark. She had this one song called Stripes. And if you watch the video, it's kind of a funny video, but the whole theme of it is she comes home and finds her man cheating on her. He's like, I would have shot you, but orange ain't my color and I don't look good in stripes. It's like, Jesus Christ. Like you can't get away with that kind of stuff if you flip the script. And I'm just like going, this is kind of fucked up if you think about it. It's
kind of fucked up themes. Yeah. I think that particularly the gun thing, like it's so popular in country music. Like it's like the cowboy culture is surrounded by all that. Like you say, like her mic stand is a shotgun. Like,
well, she herself is from Texas,
right?
Like she let out a couple y'alls during the show, and I kind of laughed. But yeah,
for our southern listeners, y'all is not a thing you hear here.
Yeah.
Y'all doesn't exist in Canada.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it is an interesting kind of subculture, like, or part of country culture.
The thing is because country is promoted as it's music of the heartland. It is America. It is. It's an American, very American-centric genre.
Right.
But because guns are such prevalent in the American psyche that's just become part of it,
Is it that something that is found also in other music genres? Like, I mean, obviously I listen to a lot of metal, but I don't recognize guns isn't part of that.
No, I think there's other tropes in metal. I mean, the next one you'd have to go into that has as much guns would be rap. Mind you, they do it in a different sense.
Right.
Like, whereas this is, I mean, a song like Gunpowder and Lead, which is very, what are little girls made of? Gunpowder and lead. It's actually a song about her dealing with an abusive boyfriend. Right?
Okay.
Like, I mean, it doesn't have quite the same connotation, whereas it's
not quite literal type.
Not as literal, no. I mean, it's just like any music. Most music is fantasy. You're telling a story and whatever. But like, say, rap, they have 10 times as much guns in their references, if you think about it. Like,
I don't listen to much modern rap. Like, I haven't.
Well, I'm thinking more like good old fashioned, old school gangster rap, NWA
right.
and that kind of shit.
No, in modern rap they make gun noises now.
Oh, do they?
Yeah, pop, pop, pop.
Is that
stuff like that?
Oh, really?
Interesting.
Yeah.
And it becomes part of the song type thing?
Yeah, they're called ad-libs.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a modern trope in trap music.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And I think just more kind of the different genres, they have their own things that they cater to the audience. If you have, let's say, like the kind of the very broad metal scene, I guess, if you want to take like kind of the harder rock side of it, there's a fascination with kind of the occult and kind of like this kind of demonic satanic. There's kind of like all these references. And the thing is, if you would ask somebody from Texas, like they would see no problem with mentioning a gun, but how dare you say worship Satan or something like that?
Well, that's that.
Right. And it's kind of you're catering to your audience.
Yeah.
And both of them, as you said, they are kind of these fantasy lands or kind of this weird virtual reality type thing that when you listen to it, you can imagine yourself being in the setting that like the story that the song is describing. Kind of. Yeah. But so
it's something that's why I thought it'd be kind of fun to talk about, because like it's kind of a weird thing is that each genre has its own little toolbox, toy box, whatever reference you want to make that they draw from and they build their images from. And it was just something that struck me as funny because with the shooting there and shooting just happened in Texas, and just the fact that just. You don't touch guns. Guns are guns are fine as long as you're white. You know?
Well, they would argue probably in country music that they're talking about guns as part of their protection of freedom.
Yes, yeah.
Right,
That's
You
just
know,
it. That's part of the
funny.
trope too, right? Like
It's like-
it's just good old boys, and we're just protecting ourselves. And
And the whole idea of guns is a metaphor for freedom because it is kind of the symbol of what freedom means
Yeah.
to a lot of people.
Right.
And so, I mean, if we look at it from the perspective of the people who actually think that that's totally normal,
Right. We're
then-
assuming.
yeah, then because then back to that metal thing, or even if you want to do rap, like some white cracker from Texas, you know,
Right.
listening to rap might think like, oh, that is so inappropriate, but that person is looking at it from their perspective,
Right.
And if you-
Right.
if
Not
you-
the perspective
yeah.
of a person who listens to that and is.
Because music is a cultural product, and if you are not from that culture, then you can't really appreciate the product.
if you don't even have to be from that
or
culture.
understand
you just,
it, or
you,
in a way.
If you enjoy the music, you kind of identify with it somehow, and then you kind of become immersed in that. You know, and it's kind of.
It's funny though that like with rap now, it is the culture of the youth. Like it's not like nobody would look at it as faux pas or anything to like talk about guns and bitches and hoes and drugs and shit, because that's what every rap song talks about.
Yeah.
Except for maybe Drake and Kendrick Lamar and stuff, but like all the trap out there, I mean, kids just love trap now.
Is that right?
And so it's like they don't give a crap if you're talking about that. In fact, when you try to talk to them, when you try to engage them, I find about that stuff, and like, oh, what do you think about this? Like, is that cool that they just degraded women that entire song? You know, like, you know, oh, it's not a big deal. You know, we're just having fun. We're just having sex. You know, like it's the youth right now are very much the culture of the moment.
Yeah.
You know, they're not really concerned about. They're not really like, in musically speaking. If you listen to the lyrics, you listen to the way it plays out now. It's a lot about tonight. You know, let's have a party. Let's have fun. Let's do shit. Let's get crazy. You know, like that's and if you attend modern music festivals that youth go to, that's what it's all about. It's just a big party. They're not. It's like they've become super apathetic now to the point where they're like, we don't want to talk about serious shit anymore.
Is it
Like-
any really that different? Like, I'm a big hair metal nut, and like that's pretty much all fucking hair metal.
That's what
was
hair
about.
metal was.
Yeah, it was all about.
There was definitely a period in the 90s and early 2000s though where that wasn't really.
No, but that's
Right, the
mind
thing,
you,
you know.
that's just it is. It was there was a reaction to
Yeah.
it. Like hair metal had become so prevalent, it just oversaturated. So grunge and the whole alternative scene exploded as a
Yeah.
reaction to it.
Even rap was political though, you know, at one point.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I mean, you look at like even at the similar time, right? Like the early '90s, that was the explosion of NWA.
Yeah.
Right.
But prior to that rap was popular, but it was very fluffy rap. It was very fluffy.
Yeah.
Yeah, like wasn't it NWA and Tupac and Notorious B.I.G. They touched on a lot of these darker, more realistic themes, right?
I mean, there was stuff before that. You have like the Grandmaster Flash and
Right.
Furious 5, and the birth of hip hop was serious, and then as it became popular, then it became really sanitized and fluffy.
Yeah, and it became
MC
clubby. It became
Yeah.
lots of things. I think now, though, you know, the funny thing is like some of these like trap specifically, because trap is all about hood life, right?
Okay.
They still talk about the same things. It's just the way they talk about them. I feel like the tone has changed. I feel like it's like kind of fun and glamorous almost.
Oh.
Like not even so much like I think there was an element of that before too, but I feel like now it's a party. It's a good time. It's like. You know, I have the right to be flexing on you. I have the right to be. You know,
They used to be the conservative viewpoint on rap was very much that it was glamorizing violence.
I feel like now it's more so.
Yeah.
I feel like if you listen to modern rap lyrics, like misogyny is cool.
I don't know.
Hurting other people is cool.
NWA was pretty raw.
Oh, it's no. I'm telling you, man. The modern stuff is way worse. Like,
Really?
NWA had actual meaning and thought behind it. Like, I feel like modern stuff is like is so like again, it's an expression of what's going on, but at the same time, it's like it's so like brain dead sometimes that I just feel like I don't really know where to look for content. Like I enjoy how it sounds, I enjoy how it makes me feel, but I don't really care for the lyrics. Like they're just nonsense most of the time. You know, like
that's one of the things that I would completely agree with. I find that so many people all the young generation loves that music, and then you have people who are kind of hardcore progressives and almost refuse to talk to engage in a serious way, because if you bring up misogyny and stuff like that they would everywhere else they hate misogyny, but when it comes to the music, it's like, well, you know,
that's how music is.
All I can think of is Chris Rock when he's talking about that kind of stuff. It's like, yeah, but they're not talking about me, you know. You know, they're up there dancing, just hit him with the dick, just hit him with the dick, just hit him with the dick. And they're not talking about me, so it's okay.
Well, and you know, there's definitely like, I know I'm not one of these people to think that everything musicians do like changes what people do, but I do think there's a perpetuation of misogyny that music is very responsible for right now.
Right.
And just the way like. You can't extrapolate to all youth because there's so many varied groups. I do get that, but in any time I've done doing youth work, I feel like views towards women are awful.
Right.
Even with the women themselves, and it's like it gets perpetuated by all these like hood mentality things that are popping up in all their kind of hood culture things. You know, whether it's music or movies or whatever, and it's like almost like it just keeps perpetuating itself back and forth. Well, I don't want to say though that music is like solely responsible for that, because at the same time, it's like good parenting would probably help. But I mean,
right? There's a lot of societal things that might change that.
Yeah.
But yeah, music might not be helping.
It's just unfortunate. Like I don't know. Like again, not saying I've never listened to music that is sexual or like whatever. But
I love Eminem. But
yeah,
his lyrics are super not okay.
Oh. Yeah, some of them are pretty fucking.
Some of the shit's awful.
Yeah,
like I know he just came out with that rap about Donald Trump, and then there were a few people on the progressive side who were like, you know, I'm not going to celebrate Eminem being against Trump. Like that's basic decent humanity.
Yeah.
Let's if we're going to talk about Eminem, let's talk about this other shit that he does. That's not okay.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And I mean, listening to some of his songs, like it's very homophobic and it's very ableist. Like it's very ableist. Like he uses the word retard regularly throughout his song.
Oh, and in rap culture, that's fine.
Is that right?
Yeah, like there's no problem using those kinds of words.
Yeah.
I think that's just it. Is sometimes you have to keep some of it in context to where he's coming from. But like, some of his lyrics are pretty raw, but.
I just feel like I'm opposed to censorship in music. I am.
Absolutely.
I am. But at the same time, I also do understand that like there's an element of it that you need to be critical about, right? Like I feel I want to feel the genuine expression that these artists have, and that's what they have. Like when I deal with youth who are street youth, it's the same thing. Like like they'll say some stuff in the recordings that are like just dark and just fucking scary shit and like disgusting too, you know, like as a normal person who leads a pretty normal life. But then I also want to hear that from them. I want to hear what they're really thinking. You know,
I don't know, but then again,
I prefer that, you know.
The only problem is when you're with music is sometimes they say some disturbing shit, but it could be they're, you know, blowing it up for the sake of the song and story or whatever.
But at the same time, I don't let people off that easy. I think music is a way of expression. If we're going to criticize some fucknut YouTube star who says stupid shit, then we need to do the same to some rapper or some country artist that says stupid shit.
Oh, for sure.
And second point is like the double standard that exists. It's very, very easy to find a kind of a progressive person dissing the misogyny in country music, but just happens to like rap, and it's just the country folk, like those backwoods crackers,
yeah.
And this is actual content that people are creating, and it is not above criticism. The same way any other person who has a blog or a podcast or writes a book or whatever the fuck they do, this is the same. Like this content like that.
It's fair game.
Yeah, it's fair game.
Yeah, that's right.
I think I still want artistic expression though to to exist in like a raw form at the same time.
Yeah, and it's fine, but it's not above criticism. Like just because this is artistic expression. Like, no, you said some shitty stuff. Like, you know, but
that's and my brain automatically goes to Eminem. Like, because he says some of the shittiest things you can say.
Every single song.
I'm not a fan because it's just I'm not into that kind of shit. But right now, my brain is going to Cannibal Corpse.
Oh well, yeah.
You know, like I mean, none of that is like they're not trying to make some political statement or whatever. They're just writing fucking gory shit. To write gory shit.
When you say stuff like some of the metal bands' names to begin with are just like aborted fetus, like
right?
Like, what is that? Like, it's just shock value. Like,
totally.
That's right.
It's a metal culture.
But then again, there is shock value in a lot of things. Like if you have politicians standing on stage waving a gun around, that's also shock value.
Right.
For
but
sure.
we will call that guy an asshole.
Yeah, that's right.
And I mean, it ends up being it's a very subjective thing. But I think we need to have the same kind of standard as we do with evaluating other stuff.
Yeah, it's interesting. I recently saw a picture of a T-shirt that said "Dead girls don't say no." Okay, this is this isn't a Cannibal Corpse. This is Cradle of Filth.
Oh yeah,
originally did that T-shirt.
Okay, I hadn't seen that one.
It's from way back in the day. It was up on the roof of the local hemp shop.
Oh, okay.
And it said, "Dead girls don't say no." And, you know, we all laughed and said, this is the most offensive shirt you'll ever find. Nobody will ever wear this. And everybody,
Jesus is a cunt.
And then Jesus, yeah. But when I saw this image of a person wearing it and everybody was outraged about it, I had to double check myself because I got quite like defensive of the T-shirt almost. Like I was like, but this is clearly just for shock value.
Yeah. And that's where like a lot of this music is kind of weird because it's all has its own context. All has its own weird fucked up context. And like but like Leo's saying, like that doesn't make it beyond criticism, right? No,
like it's many cases it is fully like a Dead Girls Don't Say No shirt is fucking offensive and rightfully so offensive. Like
this is why I've just stopped paying attention to lyrics. Honestly, like I got to the point where I was like, I don't care what you're saying anymore. I just want to hear the melody. I want to hear the rhythm, the beat, the whatever. You know, like I want to hear the song construction, the mixing.
Just listen to music that's in a different, like a language that you don't understand, and just find. It's like, oh yeah, this is some good shit.
Well, and I do sometimes. I mean, I have some French artists that I don't know what the hell they're saying, but I like how it sounds. And I just gotten to that point where, like with trap, for instance, I mean, I can really enjoy the trap sound. I actually really like it. I like how it's produced. I like how it sounds and written and stuff. I just don't think it's anything worth thinking about more than that.
Right.
Yeah.
It's
kind of like
no deeper meaning that
there's nothing in there to think about. Yeah.
I had this argument at work the one day because like I've said this story before where I had the one guy asked me why I listen to all this heavy shit and I should be listening to country like he does and he's like I started arguing against it, right? Like I said, I love Miranda Lambert. I like certain country artists, like certain country songs. As a genre, it's fucking terrible. But he was like, oh well, country's about stories and authenticity and
get out of here.
And I'm just like, fuck off. Like you listen to most of the new as is being termed the bro country.
Yeah, it's shit.
Get in my truck.
Yeah,
let's get it on.
It's interesting because Malcolm Gladwell's Revisionist History podcast just did an episode. Well, didn't just. I guess it's a few months old now. Did an episode where they talked about country music and sadness and the sadness level of different types of songs and how country music. This certain type of country music, not all obviously, hit that pinnacle of sadness. And the whole time I was listening to the episode, I couldn't help but be like, I think you're missing the sadness in some of this other music. Like if you don't see the Pretty Hate Machine album as a depressing album of Nine Inch Nails, then I think you missed the point.
The Downward Spiral might be one of the darkest albums.
That's
Right,
a dark
eh?
one, yeah. But I think the difference is it depends on, because problem is because you and I were steeped in a lot of different music,
Right.
And we're willing to listen to the heavier stuff. If you're not steeped into it, you don't see that. Oh, it's just noise. And to them, the sadness is that lonesome pedals steel, which drives me fucking nuts. And singing songs about your dog dying and whatever whatever fucking country's about half the time.
Not existential suicide.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing that Malcolm Gladwell makes the one main point is that they are such kind of very, very simple, very relatable things.
Yeah.
Like your dog dying. It's a very simple, like my dog died and I'm sad. Like people, like it's
People get it.
people get it, and it's very,
Yeah.
very,
Well,
very simple.
Yeah, that's I guess,
Like
and
the-
that's probably the appeal of
Yeah,
countries, that
that's-
it's just such a simple, universal,
And it does appeal to kind of just. I don't want to be offensive here, but just kind of to simple people like you no, but it does.
it's true,
It is the kind of music that I'm going to stop talking here. I can barely see the surface. I'm so deep under. No, but
No, see, problem is I'm going even worse.
no,
I'm
but-
thinking like from Blazing Saddle. These people are simple, salted to the earth people. Morons.
but it does. Like when a country song is about your wife left you or your girlfriend cheated on you, these are very simple concepts that anybody can understand.
Right.
It's very general, relatable, and that's why you can have. It's very easy to write a sad song. You just write about some everyday shit that goes wrong, and it's sad.
Yeah.
But if you want to make it complex, then it's like hard to understand. Like some of the more.
Well, and then on the other side of things, this is why rap and club music are doing so good right now, is because it's the same thing, lowest common denominator stuff. Like, who doesn't want to fuck? Like who doesn't want to have a party and have fun? Who doesn't want to get drunk and high and shit and just like youth anyway? It's lowest common denominators. Like you said, it's like the hair metal movement. Like it is like the hair metal movement. It's
Well,
the
that's
same
just
kind of thing.
Mind you, saying it's
just more rank.
It's the same thing as like the current bro country. It's same shit. It's let's get drunk and drive my truck, and it's
Yeah.
Some
simple.
mud on the tires and dirt on my boots and
Right.
shit like that.
Yeah.
The most popular music is the most relatable music.
It's the lowest common denominator.
It is.
stuff.
It is.
Yeah.
I mean, as much as I love hair metal, a lot of it was pretty fucking stupid.
I still love it. It's very devoid of real substance. But it's great.
I still
was not
love
into
the
it.
Skid Row album with 18 and Life on it.
Oh, that one's a brilliant album.
That's an amazing album.
I
But
can't handle how it sounds, but
I mean,
yeah.
it was done pretty cheaply, if I remember right.
Right.
But mind you, that was different. Was because it was considered a hair metal album, but if you listen to it, it's a much darker album than most other stuff
It
out
is,
there.
yeah, for sure.
well, they were also worshiping Satan in hair metal.
Yes, that's right.
That was a big thing.
You could
No.
you could spell
Yeah.
out words from all the band names like Wasp was
Yeah.
we are sexual perverts.
Yeah,
Actually, I kind of buy that from Blackie Lawless.
Right, yeah, that's
I believe,
true.
Yeah,
Like,
I
I
believe
can't
you
that.
play it
that.
backwards, you open gates,
That's right. Yeah.
different dimensions.
Meanwhile, have
and
you ever
shit.
seen that meme where it's like where they go through all the different stages of metal and how they deal with the beast? When it comes to glam metal, it's like we're too drunk and don't care about the beast.
yeah.
But I mean, that's just it. It's like
Yeah.
there's so many of these tropes and things that in the different genres. I just thought it was interesting. Like,
I'm interested in the fact that I'm thinking about it more and more what you're saying, like how it's cycled back towards partying and
well,
Right.
and
there's this thing is I think. I mean, it's a weird thing. I think is there's a cycle between the current events and what your music is. Like, 80s was all pop and hair metal. Why? Because as much as big as Wall Street was, there was a lot of recessions and shit in the 80s.
Right.
You know, and then 90s, ironically, the economy was doing good, but yet everyone was switched to darker music. And now we're kind of in a weird fucking morass of shit. Now we're going back to fluff. You know,
I guess we all need a certain amount of pain in our life. Like if life doesn't provide it, you know, we'll find movies and music too.
I feel like though that the reaction right now is slightly different though, because I feel like it's also it's a reaction to the fact that, oh, we're fucked, so whatever. You know, like it's almost like that, because I don't think there's a single youth out there who doesn't think we're fucked.
You know what? You might have an argument there.
Like,
yeah.
so it's like almost like they're just saying, okay, well, we get it, we're fucked, we've heard that enough, so let's just fucking have a good time and whatever. You know, like I
it's
get
the end of the world
mentality.
as we know it, and I feel fine.
Yeah, for real, right? It's that song, and you talk to youth again, like I say, like most of the youth I talk to are very aware of like things like climate change and just like corruption in governments and all these things, like, and they just feel like, oh well, what are we gonna do about it? You know, and it's so faux pas in music now to talk about any of it.
It's interesting.
Like you can't. Like if you do, you're just buried. Nobody gives a shit, and people actually look at you as pretentious instantly as soon as you start talking about something.
Issue-driven music is shoved aside.
It's pretentious now. Yeah,
it's interesting.
For whatever, well, here anyway, for whatever reason, that's like the thing now. Like name one single in the top 50 that's even remotely political.
I can't think of naming one that's even intelligent.
Well, yeah.
Well, I don't.
You know.
I'm not very up to date with the charts, but I don't know if you would call like Kendrick Lamar's "Humble." Would that be political enough?
You know what? Kendrick Lamar has a bit of substance to him, and actually, I appreciate his songwriting. So he could be an exception. He slides things in there, but ultimately, I mean, he's still appealing to lowest common denominator in terms of like style and stuff. But I agree with you on there. I think you could put him. Actually, J. Cole would be another one. Whenever the hell he puts out another album, but J. Cole's another one who had enough substance to like, you know, grab me enough to listen, like to what he's saying about like hood life and just people respecting each other and stuff. And
I guess
he's really good. You should listen to him. He's amazing.
I guess Macklemore was also one of those that had.
Yeah, he had a bit of that.
A bit, although
a little bit.
Yeah.
Hipster hop.
Yes, hipster hop. He's not taken too seriously in like actual rap crowds.
No,
Yeah.
you can't write a song about a scooter and be taken seriously.
Yeah. It's like safe white guy rap.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't mean to put him in the rap category, just as music that's kind of that was kind of trendy, that has a bit more substance.
It had a bit more.
Well, yes, and you can talk. Actually, there's one issue I just thought about. You can talk about, and that's like coming out and like homophobia.
Oh yeah,
you're allowed to talk about that
Yeah.
because that's good, or like women's rights, things like that are fine. It's more like getting into like actual politics of like deeper political things. Like I guess you can say fuck Trump and it's kind of all right, but it's also not all right for some people.
Well, that's kind of funny is because like that also I think depends on your genre, because like I mean
a little bit, yeah.
Because like I mean, fuck Trump in country music wouldn't be, although there have been some exceptions, that probably wouldn't be accepted. Like all I can think of right now is like. Whatever that was 15 years ago now. Fuck, I feel old. Dixie Chicks got themselves in
that's
deep
right.
fucking water.
They kind of ruined their career, to be honest.
Yeah. Even though they created a great song out of Not Ready to Make Nice. But they got ripped to shreds because they dared to question George W. Bush. They didn't even say anything that bad.
Oh, yeah.
You know, we're just embarrassed he's from Texas. Oh, fuck their career.
And it wasn't a song they wrote about him or anything like that.
No,
It was
it's just
a thing they said on stage, right?
Yeah. Oh, but they said it in a foreign country, and they questioning the president. And that's just wrong.
Jesus.
Yeah. Never questioned.
Never question the president unless he's a Barack Obama.
Yeah, then that's a different story. And then you can wave a fucking gun around like Ted Nugent, and that's fine.
That's right. And that's totally
Actually, that's a funny aside. There was like a protest in Hawaii when Trump showed up there, and somebody had a sign that said "Welcome to Kenya."
I saw that one.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's amazing. Anyways,
Yeah.
Trump probably didn't get it.
Probably not.
well, why are we in Kenya?
Yeah.
I thought we were in Hawaii.
Yeah.
Hawaii.
Oh, I get it. That's in Kenya.
Yeah. Do I get to talk to the president of Kenya?
Yeah.
I guess I am the president of Kenya.
Yeah.
The Y is ours.
But that's just it. It's like any of these things. Like, I mean, Snoop Dogg got himself in shit for kind of parodying Trump in one of his videos.
Is that right?
He had basically a guy dressed up like a clown that kind of looks like Trump.
Oh, okay.
And he shot him with a water pistol and fucking.
Well, and so there's an interesting question. Like, how far? Like, again, I still want to advocate for no censorship because I do feel like we need artistic expression to be raw.
Right.
As dark and as shitty as that can be sometimes, like, it needs to exist. And for us to be honest with ourselves, I think, as humanity. Again, we can question it, but I feel like it needs to exist. But anyway, having said all that, I do feel like, I don't know, like, there is such a... Do I want to depict murdering somebody?
Well, there was water pistol is what they did in the video.
Well,
sure.
Well, but I think this goes back to just the whole idea of freedom of expression. You can say it on YouTube. You can sing it on stage. If people will pay to come see you sing about Trump, have at her.
Right.
Like, I think it should be treated as other speech because if you can say it in one place, why not sing it? If people don't like it, then they won't buy it.
Yeah.
Like, and that's
Kind
of.
I'm all for that. If it's truly bad speech, give them enough rope and they'll hang themselves.
Or to the point where it's considered hate speech. At which point you can't say it anyway.
Yeah.
Like, if it's hate speech, you shouldn't be able to sing it. Yeah. And you should be able to sing misogynistic stuff, just as the Texans are allowed to say misogynistic stuff on the streets. But I mean, you can criticize it.
By all means, we shouldn't. Yeah, I think.
But it's freedom of expression. Like,
I think you're dead on there. I think there's a difference between, and I guess we're kind of veering off of the music tropes type idea, but there's this idea that there's a difference between legally sanctioning or legally limiting speech and society saying, okay, we're not going to hang out with you. We're not going to say that that's okay to say, and we're not going to listen to that with impunity, you know?
Yeah. I mean, because they tried to, like, think of the Tipper Gore and the PMRC in the early 80s. They tried to legislate that kind of shit.
Right.
Yeah.
And it backfired fucking.
That'll never happen.
With their PMRC stamp contains explicit lyrics that just guaranteed fucking 100,000
It's like,
sales.
I want to listen to this.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I refuse to spend money on music that I find like wrong according to my standards. Like,
Right.
I will not buy a CD.
I refuse to spend money on music.
Well, I am very willing to spend money on music if it's good, thoughtful content, like real, like deep.
Yeah.
I'm more than happy to compensate that person for it, but I'm not going to spend money. And if other people feel the same way, then eventually that should die out. But I don't have that much faith in humanity.
No, it's not. Yeah.
I compare, like, that's where I think sites like Patreon are the real key to the way content gets funded in the future, is like this idea that we're all paying artists and content creators that we personally appreciate in a way that we can afford and also can help them do their thing.
I think ultimately you're right. Like, I think that's the biggest trend we should follow, because I mean, streaming services are great, and like I subscribe to one of them, but ultimately the artist doesn't see enough from that. And,
right.
And yeah, if you really appreciate somebody's art and you want them to exist further, then yeah, give them a monthly small donation. You know, like, how hard is that?
Not that we're hinting at anything. Right?
Yeah. Guilt trip.
Well, for sure though, right? I have no problem supporting an artist I'm really, really into.
Yeah.
You know, I'd give Trent Reznor a little money here and there because I think he's amazing. But
I actually do give a bit of money to a number of content creators of podcasts or YouTube channels or what have you, because shit, I mean, if people are putting in their time and effort into doing things, then
it should be a job.
Yeah. They should be able to make at least a semblance of a living off of it if they put enough time and effort into it.
But, you know, ultimately, though, I do think that at the same time, though, I guess I think that people won't support things that heavily overall.
That's true.
I feel like if the digital age has taught us anything, it's that people don't value art enough to pay for it in extensive ways.
Yeah.
Like some people do. Like there are niche people who do, and there are like
I think the thing is they'll support it once it's big enough.
Right.
But even then, will they pay for it? Like, or will they? The only thing they'll pay for is the concert.
Yeah, they'll go to
and
the concert.
The special paraphernalia and the merchandise and whatever. Like.
Yeah, I saw a lot of fucking pink sunglasses walking out of that Miranda Lambert show.
Yeah, exactly, right?
Jeez.
But are they buying all the CDs? Are they
I don't
paying
know.
for a digital download? Probably not.
No.
Like there are some, but when you have like Taylor Swift struggling to make a platinum album, things are different now. It's. And record labels realize this. They know that they have to adapt. And
For sure, yeah.
And they've been really slow on that.
Yeah, that's right. There's been a few tries over the last few years of different methods of trying to adapt to the modern age. And
I think the problem is and totally getting off the trope thing, but the genie's out a little bit. We've now had digital music for 10, 15 years now or something like that. We have an entire generation, shall we say, that they feel like
everything should be free.
Yeah, they should.
They're entitled to the music.
They're entitled to it.
Yeah, that's right.
And I mean, the way they consume things in general is just that's the way it is. Like, I mean, YouTube is free for the most part, and I don't know. Even Spotify has a free version. Like,
right? Yeah,
that's what I got.
It's, so. I most of the youth that I work with, like they use YouTube for their music. And they'll have like an app on their phone that's like a YouTube music player.
Right. Well, what? Yeah. Why buy an album when you can get the song you want, add it to a playlist on YouTube, and
done.
Yeah.
Yeah. What and why pay Apple Music or Google Music or any of these places? Like I do just because I appreciate the quality of the service. Like I think it's like I get everything at my fingertips. It's like
and we're at a shifting place in the whole market, not just for music, but for any content, be it news, be it podcast, be it music, like all of it. The whole marketing strategy has been turned upside down.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I hope that we come up with a system where we can promote good content creation and fund it in a way that
works.
Yeah, that works. Because if we all expect it to be free, then it's not going to happen.
It's all going to go away. On that note, let's do an ad break, and then come back and we'll try and pick up on this conversation.
Alrighty.
If you like what we're doing and want to help us keep the lights on, go become a patron at patreon.com/Brainstorm Podcast. You can hear the bonus half hour that we record every episode and get a shout out when you support the show. Become a patron for just $1 an episode at patreon.com/Brainstorm Podcast. Or you can support the show by ordering a t-shirt, mug, or other gear from our store at caffeepress.ca/Brainstorm Podcast Gear. If you can't afford to become a patron or buy gear, then why not give us a rating or write a review on iTunes or Stitcher? Every rating makes it easier for people to find us. Thanks for your support.
We are given one life, full of billions of small and large decisions. To be somebody, to change, to be kind, to give hope, to become a better person, and to leave a lasting impact on this planet. It is a decision to be made every single day while your heart is still beating. We've made our decision. Absence of Clothing, atheist and science-based apparel and merchandise, donating 50% of our profits to charity. Look good and feel good, without God. Check us out at absenceofclothing.com and find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Pinterest for discount codes and other sweet swag.
Use the code BRAINSTORM at absenceofclothing.com and get 10% off. The Hardcore Skeptic Examines is a bi-monthly documentary-style podcast that includes interviews, research, and commentary from your host, Cory Johnston. That's me. As the host of the Brainstorm podcast, I've spent the last 3+ years trying to spread critical thinking and skepticism while having fun. This project is intended to look at some of those same topics covered by Brainstorm, but a bit deeper. With the long intervals between episodes and the long format, I'm hoping to provide good information that educates as well as entertains. Check out my Patreon for more details at www.patreon.com/hardcoreskeptic or follow my Twitter @hardcoreskeptic.
Hey there, I'm VP Quinn of High Level Games, a tabletop role-playing game podcast and web community. I and my trusty sidekick and producer monkey, the assistant to the regional manager, Joel, hello, talk about various pen and paper role-playing game products in an always interesting and sometimes funny way. We are a for gamers by gamers podcast that looks at how to make these games more awesome for the fans. Check us out on iTunes, follow us at HLG_corporate on Twitter, like our page on Facebook, or just go to highlevelgames.ca for more information. High Level Games, the industry's first choice in taking your games to the next level.
All right, so we're back. So I guess we kind of went all over the place a little bit in the conversation, but that's okay. We didn't touch on this one article that you shared in the planning group.
Oh, yeah.
With the Marilyn Manson whipping out the gun on stage.
Yeah.
Oh, so much to say about him. So much.
The thing is, that's in a way, it kind of mirrors the Miranda Lambert thing because her gun motif was everywhere. But because it was directed at, it wasn't just part of the backstage. He directed it at people. And it was in Santa Bernardino, which had a shooting.
Okay.
You know, and it's fucking Marilyn Manson because he's a provocateur. He's a performance artist, and that's the thing is
He's a sad clown.
He's a sad clown.
There's that too, yeah.
Yeah.
I think his artistic reach, exceeds his grasp. He's trying to be way more artistic than he is, even though I love Manson.
Yeah. I remember reading the autobiography, like
Long Road into Hell.
Yeah, a long time ago. Like, I don't even know how long ago. That's got to be over 20 years now. But he always, even then, he was like a way more pretentious than his talent really.
Yeah, well, because he was actually, I think, a much better rock journalist than he is a rock musician, even though I love Manson.
Yeah.
But,
I don't know. But he's always struck me as a person who thought very highly of their own abilities. Yeah. Maybe that's wrong. Maybe that's just what the impression I got.
I think he's bought into his own idea that he's an artiste.
He can be.
Yeah.
Sometimes. His new album's fantastic, but
I actually, it's the first one I've bought since the golden age of grotesque. So,
yeah. The funny thing with him is again, he's supposed to be parody. He's supposed to be a character. He's supposed to be all these things. So, he had that one song on Hollywood that was called "Guns, God, and Government."
Yeah. Right.
And it was kind of farcical, give me your guns and God and government. Yeah, fuck yeah. That kind of thing.
Right.
And so, him having a gun is part of that, American mockery that he does, right?
Yeah. Americana, yeah.
Yeah, exactly, right? God, Americans love their religion and their guns and their violence. And
that's the one thing I always really appreciated about Manson was that kind of social commentary without necessarily, I don't know. I guess it was pretty explicit in a lot of cases.
Yeah, but he wasn't. It was kind of weird. Was that he reveled in it, but he didn't preach about it.
Yeah, that's right. It didn't come across as preachy. It was very much like entertainment.
Yeah.
In the end, he's a fucking dick. I'm just gonna throw that out there.
Wow.
He's a fucking asshole.
Yeah.
And,
many of his ex-bandmates would say the same, right?
Yeah.
R.I.P. Daisy Berkowitz, who passed away recently too.
Yes.
Right. But yeah, no, he's a fucking dick. So on one hand, it's I don't really I don't really respect him as a human being,
Right.
like morally and all these things. But I respect some of his art and some of what he was doing. So I mean, I don't want to shoot the messenger necessarily, but I wouldn't look to him for like, I don't know. We can call him a dick all we want. Like he is a dick.
Yes.
So
Yeah. No, that's right.
so maybe he was being a dick in that instance because when he's pointing this gun because. Ultimately, he's doing it to glorify himself. And
yeah, that's
so,
part of the thing. Hey, is
him.
it always? He's always been about promotion of Marilyn Manson.
Oh, he just gives a shit about himself. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't give a shit about
And
himself.
and that's kind of part of the musical thing. Like
Yeah.
you motivate, you create this image.
Right.
I don't care who it is. You create an image.
Yep.
In country music, Toby Keith is this beer swilling ass and fucking dick.
Needs a bat to the head.
Yeah. And Marilyn Manson. And Marilyn Manson is this agent provocateur with doing this kind of shit.
Right.
Yeah, but nobody cares anymore about Marilyn Manson.
No, his relevancy is kind of gone long time
Do
ago.
people care about Toby Keith still?
I don't think so.
He gets enough people at his concerts, I'm sure.
I mean, I think that's more of a. It's kind of in the same way, a similar way as Manson. There's a nostalgia thing with Toby Keith, I think.
Yeah.
But I don't think we don't. I doubt in the country scene we'd be going Toby Keith. Oh yeah, that fucker's washed up. I don't think there's the same kind of tone.
Do you think that people who listen to country music criticize their own artists the same way?
I don't think so. I don't think there is. I could be. The problem is the only people I know that are big country fans. I wouldn't want to talk to them about country music because I'd be just like
they're fucking assholes.
Because they wouldn't. I don't think they're self-aware enough to actually critique it.
They'll criticize the artist if like you said, if they're anti-government, like in the
Right.
States, or they'll criticize the artist if they become too pop. That's the other thing too. That country people
Too pop is a thing. Okay.
Like Taylor Swift is no longer country, right?
Well, no, she isn't. Her last two albums are not country.
So people are probably pissed at that if you're a real country fan,
It's interesting. Because I still think of her as country. Like I don't listen to
she
her music
started
in any
as
sense.
country, but her last two albums were
there's no country.
There's no country.
There's zero. It's pop now. Yeah, bangers.
Interesting.
Bangers left and right.
Bangers.
Yeah, that's what you call like a big club hit as a banger.
Oh, I see. I'm not up with the hip new lingo. That's how you know you're an old man.
And when you say the word hip, you pretty much date yourself.
I was about to say.
The hip new lingo.
I'm a square now.
Yeah, you're a square.
The kids these days with their bangers and
Get
their
off my
boppers.
lawn, goddammit.
Yeah. But that's just the thing is there isn't, I think, the same kind of self-critique in country as I think there is in other genres.
Yeah, no.
Mind you, I don't think there is quite the same sense of, they're fucking done, as much. I don't know. I mean, I think maybe in the younger group.
I don't know, though. I have not found a whole lot of self-critique in any genre. If you are a hardcore fan, there's some people, but most people, if you're a hardcore X fan, like very few people criticize it. Like the same going back to like those, like I guess rap music. Like even the most progressive people.
Oh, yeah.
You mentioned the music, mentioned some of that shit that gets said in those lyrics, and like. They are unwilling to criticize it for the most part, and I think that happens a little bit in pretty much every genre.
Oh, it could be.
Though.
Yeah.
I could see that.
Like, though we are critical, we're the good ones. Like we can criticize our own music.
We are
the enlightened ones.
Yeah, I think we might actually be an exception.
The criticalness is
not to pat ourselves on the back too much.
For the average person, criticalness is more about like selling out. Like that's the only thing they get critical about. Like
right.
Like Manson's a perfect example when he went and made Mechanical Animals, and it was like different than Antichrist, and then he had the big single Dope Show, and people were like, "Oh, I don't like this. What is this? You sold out."
I actually really like that album.
It's a fucking great album. I don't give a shit if it's different than Antichrist.
I know a lot of people hated it, but I really like that.
No, front to back, that album's fantastic. But
yeah, it's interesting.
But
yeah, the idea that a genre must criticize itself, I guess, is kind of an odd one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Or like fans of a particular genre. It's good to know what's right and wrong in your own thing, but
I think sometimes though, sometimes we can be too hyper critical of kind of this stuff. Like,
yeah.
I mean, like, I know we were talking at supper, but you know, like the debate they had on Lock Horns, which I love that show. But anyway,
right, the sexism in metal.
Sexism in metal, and it's like, was it there? Well, yeah, fuck yeah,
yeah.
But sometimes, you know what? Like, I mean, sometimes it might be too hypersensitive to some of that stuff. Sometimes I think. I mean, is it in there? Yeah, it's like anything else. You want to lose all faith in humanity, go to a comment section, under any video on YouTube, and you'll see that,
Jesus Christ, is it bad, actually?
Yeah.
This is why I say I just shut my mind off and just listen to the music.
And there's also the group idea of it. So let's say if you take it in a different area, like sports ball,
right?
You will have a Rough Rider fan who has all these critiques of that other team's quarterback, like he does everything like wrong in this specific way, when their own quarterback does it pretty much exactly the same. You see the flaws in other, like. But if your team loses, I guess then
right.
I think there's a better. It's similar comparison, I guess. Sort of. It's like those cartoons you see every once in a while, where you're just like you got the shirt on my sports ball team, and then someone has the opposing one. Fuck that guy, just because he has the team. It kind of happens a bit in the music scene too. Where it's like,
for sure.
It's like I like band X or genre Y, and then you have the opposing. Well, fuck you.
Right. I think I saw a lot of that in the 90s with rap and metal, because I listened to both, and I thought that there was some very similar themes in like working class people who are frustrated with society and systemic issues.
Yeah.
But boy, oh boy, you couldn't say that to anybody in either camp.
And then they became new metal, and they mixed the fucking two.
And then even things like when you have the hardcore punk fans. You mention Green Day and they will shoot you on the spot. I understand the point. Like I've heard enough people explain to me why that is just not acceptable. But at the same time, like they are very, very similar musically.
Well, even
but they are, again, with the sports ball jerseys. Like I hate this fucker because he has that jersey on. I don't know.
Yep.
I find it funny, like with modern music too, like Skrillex when he came out, and I think Skrillex is a genius, but he was getting really criticized for taking some of the conventions of underground music and bringing them to the mainstream. And I was like, why is that a fucking problem?
Yeah, because they say Skrillex created bro step.
Yeah. And I'm like, but he popularized like their genre, so why do they give a shit? Like then after him,
now it sells.
Everybody was allowed to make dubstep for a while. Like it was,
But then again, it's like any other, and I think we've totally lost the plot on here. But
a little bit.
But it's kind of like, I mean, Nirvana when they got big. There's a quote somewhere, I can't remember where I saw it, but Kurt Cobain basically got depressed when he looked out, and the same guys that used to beat him up in high school were now in the front row of the show,
cool,
right?
Yeah.
And it's like the same thing,
No, we didn't lose the plot. We're talking about criticalness of people's music.
Well, we were talking about musical tropes and how, but it's whatever.
But I mean, the criticism of the music is, I guess, relevant to the tropes. Like,
It's interesting. Like you say, like the people you hate are if your music becomes popular, which you always want it to do. You want the music you like to be the music you hear on the radio.
Yeah, even though that was a big thing in the 90s, where's the anti-rock star, which was such bullshit. But, but
everybody wanted their favorite artist to be the one that was on Much Music or MTV or whatever the fuck was going on.
Depending how hipster you became.
Right.
Well, yeah.
Because the instant they became big, it was like, oh, no, they're not.
Fuckers sold out.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, they sold out because they want to make fucking money.
That's right. Yeah,
I used to think that way.
That's like Tool did a song about that. Like Tool,
that kid who's like harassing him,
hooker
right,
with a penis.
Yes, I love that song.
Sold my soul to make a record.
Yeah, because that was about some kid who like confronted him or something.
Yeah,
about
that's
selling
right.
Out, right? Like,
yeah. That great song. Yeah. But that's the whole point. Like, of course they sold out. That's how they got the record contract and made the music you love.
I don't know how you can even view Tool as selling out.
Yeah, that's something that you can't say in one sentence at all. Tool sold out.
How does that work?
No.
Like, yes, they made really accessible music. What? No, they didn't.
No, they didn't.
Yeah.
It's extremely complex and lyrically.
Well, it's moderately complex. It's moderately complex.
Well, some of it's more complex.
I'd say metal communities don't respect Tool's complexity, so typically. But they looked at them as like prog light.
Yeah.
But
prog is much more popular than it once was.
Well, in niche crowds, yes, definitely.
In certain areas, like
I'd say modern kids don't give a shit.
Is that right?
Yeah, who's listening to prog anymore? Like, I don't know.
30-year-olds.
What's prog?
What's prog?
It's like complex metal, like alternate time signatures and like, polyrhythms, all kinds of things.
I actually do know what it is. I was just trying to make a joke.
Okay.
As a big fan of prog, I was about to
tear into me.
I haven't met a single 18-year-old or 17-year-old who listens to anything remotely like that stuff. So just so you know.
Yeah, no, and that's just, and I think that's just it. It's
over.
That's the problem. Is a lot of it is over. Like it's like having these arguments with that guy at work where be like, oh well, this is country's great and blah blah. And it's like, dude, I have an obscene amount of music at home. I listen to an obscene amount of music. You're not going to win this argument. Like, don't even start with me, And
the one thing I try to avoid doing, most of my favorite bands are from before I was born.
Right.
So, but the one
what
thing
year were you born?
1990.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. But the one thing that I hate when people do is that whole the good old days type thing.
Yeah.
Like where
that's the problem.
I hate it.
But just let me finish. The idea that this one band they got it right back like 50 years ago.
That's right.
And everybody else now can just suck dick. Like
music these
that's,
days, eh?
Like, I, as much as I agree with it, I think a lot of the stuff that's produced now, like all this very superficial, like what we've been talking about, that lyrics, it's very hard to find meaningful lyrics. I agree with that, but I just hate when they use the good old days.
That's happening with rap now too. It's hilarious. Like it's hilarious watching people go talk about like pure rap and like true rap. I'm like, holy fuck, you guys sound exactly like the idiots of the 80s when they were talking about pure rock and pure metal. I was like, holy shit, this is happening again.
I remember my dad doing that.
Holy cow.
He always said, like, I think I was in my 20s, and he was like, the music you like will never last. Well, fucking
the music
20 years later, it's like,
yeah. I mean, I don't try, like, I am just saying that I listen to a lot of music. I still try to listen to a lot of new music.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But when he knows this much and he's trying to argue with me, it's like, no.
Yeah.
I can break this out into genre and decade and, like.
If you want to have a real discussion, then we can have a real discussion.
Yeah.
I also hate this, like Leo mentioned it there. I hate this idea that there's like you can't progress in the music genre. Like you have to adhere to this beautiful, pure version of it that existed once.
I mean, my opinion on it right now is I think music for me, I think music has hit kind of a low point for my personal.
I'm the opposite.
You're looking at it from a production standpoint, whereas I'm
and songwriting. Yeah.
I don't know. I guess I don't see it as that, but that's just an opinion. Like, I don't think it won't progress. Music goes in peaks and valleys. And for me personally, right now, it's at a bit of a low point.
And I think those peaks and valleys are very subjective as well, because
totally.
Somebody could flip your peaks and valleys upside down and view it the exact opposite. But I do think that, music is a creative art form, and we have to let it progress. And there will be, I was talking to my brother about this a while ago, that right now, some of these shit artists that I absolutely hate, in 20 years, I will hear motherfuckers on the street say, remember the days of that artist? Like, remember that was the shit.
Oh, God.
And you'll hear that next week, though.
Yeah, and that will happen. Like, when I am old, there will be people who will hark back to that.
Yeah.
Remember Miley Cyrus or some shit like that. And I will lose my shit.
Yeah,
but it's gonna happen.
The day that they go, the good old days of Broken Side will be.
No. Not everybody makes the cut. Not everybody's gonna make the cut. And right now, we don't know who's gonna make the
Attack.
cut.
Actually, you know what's trending right now, which is really interesting, is it's like hardcore rap with screaming in it, and it's really dark, but it's trap sounding. It's really fucking weird. There's actually an artist in Moose Jaw who's doing this, and he's starting to get a lot of attention. But it's like Broken Side reminded me of that, because Broken Side is like screaming over like poppy dance stuff and shit.
Yeah, it was dancing, and then they put in those pig squeals and shit. Like, it was just god awful.
Yeah, this is screaming over trap music, which is very different. It's like I don't even know. I hope it doesn't blow up. I don't like how it sounds. but
I hope it just goes away.
But it sounds like it's blowing up right now.
Oh no.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I heard an interesting. I guess we're coming up on just about time to do the outro stuff, but I heard an interesting argument that because of the way the market predicts music or decides what's funded in music, that we will always be faced with almost a lack of artistic integrity, and we'll always get this kind of what's the most popular, what will sell the most, what's the most appealing, rather than what each individual artist is trying to do for themselves. Perhaps we get much more of the idea that, we have to sell the most, or we have to draw
it's the same
crowd.
as Hollywood. Same as Hollywood. Exactly,
Yeah.
Exactly the same. Look at how shitty movies are now.
Yeah, that's right.
And there's this
What are you talking about? We need a Fast and the Furious 11.
Oh my fucking God.
Just mindless entertainment.
The next person who wants that movie is getting punched in the face.
I actually enjoy them for their absolutely mindless shit.
God.
It's the same way I enjoy Trap. It's mindless, but I enjoy the...
I was on Twitter, Tyrese apparently said that if The Rock is in the next Fast and Furious, then he isn't. And apparently this was a big thing on Twitter, and I'm like, who the fuck cares? Like, shut the fuck up.
I hope neither of them are in
I don't care. I hope they just don't make another Fast and
I'm pretty sure Rock is brokenhearted with his $86 million.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's fucking broken.
If they decide to sign The Rock and he wants to do it, then he's getting in that movie. That's it.
It's going to happen.
He's a selling. He sells tickets, so
Yeah.
they don't give a shit what other person's saying.
Yeah, they don't give a shit about... Oh my! Have you heard Tyrese Gibson is in this movie? Oh my God! No, that's never happened.
Yeah.
Said no one ever. Oh shit! All right.
You know, the one last thing I do want to say about one thing that is the tropes are happening so quick now and changing so quick that I think we're going to have a bit of a different industry and a different music vibe going forward, because what's popular today might not be popular 10 minutes from now, like that kind of thing. Like we're consuming so quickly that the tropes are just changing constantly.
It's interesting.
And it's like, I don't know, like you're old within a few months. Like once you've released something, it's like it's over. Like you have to keep releasing shit and keep changing and keep trying, and you can get lost in the shuffle so fast.
How odd it must be to be a young person right now.
It's so weird, man. Like your attention span is like 5 seconds. So it's like, now I'm on to this. Now I'm on to that.
Wow.
It's like, and
span of a gnat.
Right.
So yeah, what's a trope this week might not actually be a trope next week. Maybe it's something different. Like maybe it's
right.
Like it's with modern music anyway. It seems like that, but
very strange. All right. So listener feedback. We got one whole comment on a Patreon post. Lachlan commented on one of our the shows, which I really appreciate, but we don't get a lot of that. No email. Lots of good discussions going on in the Facebook group. So it seems like if you want to interact with us and listeners, then that's the place to do it. We have no new patrons. We dropped in our patronage. So if you would like to help the show keep going, then we would really appreciate it. There are, there were like almost 8 or 9 patron-only posts last month. So that's quite a bit.
Very nice.
Yeah. With bonuses and whatnot. So you can get early access to this, my other show, extra episodes, and monthly Skeptic Voices. If you haven't yet, check out the Patreon page at patreon.com/brainstormpodcast and get your bonuses, including the after show. Thanks to Lisa, Gumby, Rob, Will, Aaron, Daryl, Destin Sucks, Lachlan, Magnus, Michael, Nathan, and Stephanie for being patrons of the show. We got one new iTunes review from Michael19, MYKIL19. They gave us 5 stars and said, very funny and a very funny and entertaining way to advance good ideas. So thank you for the review. If you want your review read on the air, you can leave us a review or on either Tunes or Facebook or anywhere else that you can review podcasts. Just let us know where you reviewed us, and we'll read it on the air. The Facebook page is up to 998 likes. 998, people.
We're going to stay live until that hits 1,000.
Come on now. We need to hit 1,000 likes.
Click those likes.
Click those likes.
I might have to open an additional 2 Facebook pages just to like them, just 2 fake.
Yeah, that's right. Just click the goddamn button. I'll figure out some cool giveaways for the extra T-shirt I have and some ball caps I have if we hit 1,000. Anybody got a thing to plug that isn't me?
No.
I will plug again my next weekend. I don't think I'm going to head out to LA because it's just too expensive, and I hate Trump. But yeah, if you're in the LA area, next Saturday the 18th, I have a couple films playing at the TCL Chinese Theater.
TCL Chinese Theater.
I think that's what it's. Yeah, that's right by the Walk of Fame.
Cool.
It's a very historic theater. Anyway, for the LA Skins Film Festival. So there's a film called From Up North I did the music for and some of the audio, and then another film called Gas Can that I did location audio and mixing for. So
cool.
If you're in LA, go to TCL Chinese Theater November 18th. Check out the festival. It's really going to be cool.
Nice. I have not done any new episodes of the Hardcore Skeptic Examined series, but I'll get one done soon. I was airing live on the radio, Brainstorm Radio, 2 days in a row this week because of our Spreaker account, we have 3 hours of broadcast time every day. So I could theoretically broadcast any day that I want for 3 hours. So, I mean, they're there on our Spreaker account if people want to check them out. One of them was actually on, yesterday, which was our 4th anniversary. We have been on doing our show for 4 years as of yesterday.
It's a real thing.
It's a real thing. What a waste of time.
Yeah. Quality free since 2013.
Quality free since 2013. Yeah, that's about it. If you follow us on Spreaker, then you will get a notification or an email every time I go live. So just keep your eyes out for that if you want to listen to me ramble on and play some music. I was on Reason Revolution to talk about all kinds of different things. I talked about my deconversion. We talked about podcasting, and we talked about leftists, centrists, and free speech. So that was fun. It was a good conversation. And frankly, I'm getting a little disillusioned with our attempt to get a conference going in Saskatchewan again. I talked about this on my broadcast yesterday. We had a conference in 2016. It took a ton of money, and it took a lot of risk and a lot of trust and hope from for a lot of support from our community. And we're not getting that this time around. So, I mean, hopefully we can get a little bit of support going. You can donate to if you want. GoFundMe.com/Shift to Reason Conference 2018 with dashes in between all the words. Let's hit that outro music. You can check out the show notes at thebrainstormpodcast.com and our website, brainstormblog.net. Thanks to our financial supporters, Aaron, Daryl, Destin, Sucks, Lachlan, Lisa, Magnus, Michael, Nathan, Positively Skeptical, Rob, Stephanie, and Will. If you want to join their ranks and help the show grow, then you can do that at patreon.com/brainstormpodcast. You can join us live every second week when we broadcast live on Spreaker. You can find us at Spreaker.com/user/brainstormpodcast. Our next guests are Aaron Rabi and GW from the Embrace the Void podcast, which should be another great guest. They're incredibly smart people. I want to thank Michael Smith again for joining us today. You can find out more about his podcast at poorlysummarized.com. I'll put a link in the show notes at thebrainstormpodcast.com, and the notes on brainstormblog.net are still a work in progress. But I did redesign the website, so go check that out and see if it's more user-friendly or whatever. Thanks, Dave, for our intro music. Thanks to Alex Kepper-Murdoch for doing the voiceover for the intro and for some of our ads. And thanks to Jason Kamol for our outro music. You can find his stuff at aloststateofmind.com. All music played is either with permission or under the SOCAN license to play. For more information on SOCAN, you can check out the music license info page on our website, brainstormblog.net. Remember to give us a rating, a thumbs up, or a fave on your podcatcher of choice. Join our Facebook group, like our page, follow us on Twitter, share the show, and spread the word. Thanks for listening. For live listeners, we're going to do a bit of an bonus show on mixler.com/thebrainstormpodcast with dashes in between the Brainstorm Podcast. I fucking hate those dashes. And listen to the bonus content before it goes patron only. Thanks again, and remember, the truth matters.
This is an opinion-based podcast. Each person on the podcast is responsible for their own opinions, and those opinions don't necessarily reflect the views of the rest of the panel, any guests, or anyone associated with the people on the podcast, such as spouses, partners, children, other family members, friends, or employers. No one person speaks for the podcast with the possible exception of Cory, and he doesn't speak for anyone else on the show. The Brainstorm podcast does not represent the views of our sponsors. We just wanted to say thanks to everyone who listens to us, shares the show, gives us a rating on iTunes or Stitcher, or supports us through Patreon and Gumroad. We don't have a lot of interactions with our listeners, but what we have had proves that we attract some of the best people around. Smart, kind, and cool. An audience truly worthy of the titles hardcore and woo-free. Thanks for helping us make the world a smarter place.